Good morning, this is Beaty-Coffey of the Ministry of Uncover No More. I want to talk about something today. This is going to be Friday motivation, because what I'm about to talk about is a paradigm of thought process that is very prevalent, and people don't see it, literally do not see their behaviors associated with it. The military has to use it. The Christian family has used it for generations. I saw it particularly in some behaviors through my married family's existence, like grandparents on, because I was privileged to have my mother-in-law live with me for 12 years, so we had a lot of nice conversations, and she was a very open person like I am, and so we shared about our lives and we were honest, and I can tell that part of the way that she was trained as a child, which this is in the 1930s, 1940s, so was through what I'm about to talk about. And this is, and it is a continual thing, and it ends up being very, very aggressive, dominant. And honestly, particularly in the paradigm where the woman stayed at home and the man did the work outside the home, and it's all very quote-unquote biblical in the New Testament and everything, it's pretty heavy-handed. And I think it's been hard on men in the baby boomer and older Gen X generations. It's been hard on the men. So they're in their 70s down to I'd say 45 to 50 is what this is about, because there is a tremendous amount of order in a paradigm like that. If you go all the way to the military, they have to have that, going into battle and going into training constantly for the possibility of battle, etc. Boot camp, but and I've even had someone say to me, I wish I could just put these people in boot camp. And we're talking about relationships, okay? We're not talking about a business paradigm. We're not talking about a church paradigm. We're talking about relationships on the ground. And if there's one thing that gentler education of children will teach you, so that would be the Montessori schools, that would be any kind of schools, even homeschools based on Charlotte Mason approaches, things like that. As long as that there's not the religious paradigm that I'm talking about, which a lot of those schools are private, at least in Texas and a few other states, but a lot of those schools have this paradigm in them because they legalize religion. I used to be a zealot, as it were, but when it came to things like putting the 10 Commandments outside of government buildings and stuff, I really didn't know what to think. And I can remember, even if I was a zealot, I had a check in my spirit about it. And of course, I walked with 40 days, I walked with the anti-abortion movement. Now I'm old enough and in ministry in such a way as I can't walk for the, restore Roe versus Wade movement. I can't level out what happened in my life. Again, I'm going to be saying this a lot. I don't have any remorse until you've walked as a woman in the middle of the kind of paradigms I propped up and supported, until you've walked in my shoes, and there's millions of us. Basically, I think you should be gracious, and you should be able to say, thank you for being in our midst. Your faithfulness is understood, and your brokenness is too. I have been willing to see your brokenness, whoever you are. But I do not have people close up that will even acknowledge the kind of brokenness I'm dealing with. And that means I have to access my spiritual side and stay there. And that means this morning I'm making a decision to go in ministry, because I'm actually privileged, because I have gone long enough in this life to have family in different places. And so what I will say here before I give you the basics of what I'm talking about is my runes, and I highly recommend them still. My runes are mentoring me and reminding me what is important for me to keep from my very dogmatic background that was required of me in the Protestant church, where family roles are very strictly enforced. The other paradigm that strictly enforces a child's life is you will go to college. A lot of people go to college and need to. I gave it all up. Some of that I just always feel lazy. Some of it I get it, because my life was gonna run along the lines of some things that just do not lend themselves to that kind of education. And if I'd have spent all that time in that education, I would have been wrapped up in those worlds, and I wasn't supposed to be. I literally, that's the part of astrology that I will say I understand. The calling on my life and astrology, I got my chart read by an astrologist, and that shit's real. And I'd already been living it, but where I still haven't finished reading my chart, because I'm broken. I'm broken, and when you're broken, you've got to focus on the now, and you've got to build on the now. And so that's what I'm doing. And so I know I'm doing the proper thing for me. I have plans for the future. Yes, I've used urines for that. But to rebuild your life, what I will say for a person like me that is very empathetic is you never can, and I'm not proud of this. Sometimes I'm tired of this quality that I have. Sometimes I'm tired of it. But you cannot unravel your life. In other words, I will go back to the Protestant church, but I'm going to have to be really careful how I do that, because I'm not a part of their paradigm anymore, and I need to remain respectful, and I need to also have it known, at least to my own mentality, that I'm actually an atheist when I walk in, because it gets to the point where the chauvinism is so blatant that it's difficult to stay in their midst. I don't, just talking about the actual man, Jesus Christ, in whichever life he is within today, he doesn't deserve to be walked off because of what the church has done to him. Neither the archangels. They don't deserve that. And there is a greatness in the paradigms of religion, just like there's wickedness coming through people, both paradigms. So I just feel that there has been a grave disservice to the goodness in religion, the way people are being expunged out of the buildings, but the injustice in the buildings, I think, is great enough that I know why it's happening. People are protesting at a very basic level, is all I understand right now in that zone. That being said, a lot of us were trained in those ways. A lot of us have pain and brokenness in our lives because of the strictness. And people who have chosen the more militaristic paradigm of living, they do not want to remove themselves from it, and particularly if they're men, it's because they feel more in control. There are no answers here. This is simply a quandary I'm talking about, because I bump up against it too. The biggest place that I see so much damage, it's over. There's no fixing it, because to fix it takes people getting back up in our lives and saying, yes, this relationship is beautiful, and we're going to recreate it. We're going to allow ourselves to forgive ourselves and one another, and we're going to create again. And we are human, and that means we are highly intelligent, and that means we can do this. But I do not see the unction of it. Generally speaking, I see people just learning from their mistakes and picking up with other people. And that makes me sad, because we can do this. We can admit the folly of the paradigms from the past. We are intelligent enough, and forgiveness is a very strong superpower. It's amazing. So I'm here, and I've got quite a bit of life to live, and that's why I'm staying in ministry, is to be here, to be saying these things, to be seen working with runes and everything, and weeping with those who weep, and rejoicing with those who rejoice. And when I say this, I say it to the younger generations who may, some of my own children who may decide to have children in the future. There is a way to use discipline, but at the same time, pull back gradually as a child gets older, and then teach one another, the adults and the children alike, not to be codependent, and passive aggressive in personal relationships. It's a journey. You're going to have to nip and tuck in different places. Everybody is. Something to me, after as much as I've been through and as little as I've been through, but I've observed other people and been a listener, been privileged to be a listener to other people. Removal of emotional love is one of the, in good society, is one of the most destructive forces in our midst. The very concept of the Trinity that I don't agree with the manifestation of in churches, it should be handled differently. The talking, the doctrine of it should be handled differently, but that's a moot point because they're never going to change. Is about a God that is faithful and good, and yet most people in this day and age cannot and will not be able to associate with the God that you're forcing on large populations as Protestants, Catholics, and even Muslims. Forcing this on generations, and the thing is it's not a relationship. It's your core as a human needs to be cleansed situation. Now, am I talking against the gospel? No, I am not. I am not. Whether you like it or not, human individual, temptation and the necessity to daily come against temptation is very real, and that teaching in any paradigm is correct. Discipline is necessary in living. I'm telling you that the biggest, most destructive, tiny behavior that I see everywhere, it's very discouraging to me, that I see everywhere, is this emotional withdrawal. And the second thing will be sexual in nature. You have to literally remove all sexuality from this. You're gonna have to, in the climate that we're in at this time in our lives, we're going to have to be bigger than sexuality. People are not heterosexual like I am. Many people. And they need hugs too. And if you think I haven't practiced what I've preached, I have been privileged to have a trans person walk into the women's bathroom with me, and there is not one problem with it. We were just doing our business, period. It was perfectly modest and acceptable, and there was nothing wrong. And on the other side of the bathroom door, I've hugged that person, and they've hugged me, and we've appreciated each other as friends. So, yeah, I practice what I'm talking about. I wouldn't be talking about it if I wasn't practicing it. So, that's the second point, is we're going to have to bring sexuality back to being a private thing. And those of us that are older and have been there and have done that and have worked with multitudes of people, and like I have, in and outside of church buildings and stuff, I have this to say: we need to continually promote promote safe sex. We need to continually promote get off drugs. We need to continually promote, certainly weed is okay, but it needs to be disciplined. If you are an alcoholic, stay away from the whole paradigm. If you're not, discipline it. You can do this. I know these things because I still live this way, and I know that it works. These sorts of disciplines work. Now, take it a step farther and stop, for whatever your reason, insecurities, embarrassments, etc., etc. Stop emotionally withdrawing from people. And if you are male and older particularly, you've got some work to do. You have, particularly all of you post-Christians, you have put a very, very ugly stamp on what God the Father looks like. And you have treated God the Mother with a lack of respect. And you have not repented in front of the people that you have led. Here, it doesn't matter who is paying the bills, my loves. It doesn't. So, I'm kind of surprised I'm doing this video on Friday instead of Sunday. I just want to repeat the first real primary thing I'm talking about, and that is emotional removal from people for punishment or etc. is morally anathema to me. After what I have seen people being willing to put other people through for no good reason. No good reason. This is Beaty-Coffey of the Ministry of Uncoverment.